All right, there we go. I am all set. Live here on YouTube and on Facebook. If you are joining me for the first time, I am Danita Lynn. Thank you. I am the caregiver's caregiver, and I am here to talk to you today, Saturday, March 14th, about how the wrong perspective of caregiving can lead you to fail. And I have two main points I'm going to flesh out today. We're not going to be here long, shouldn't be more than 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more, depends on how the interaction goes. But I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about how different mindsets, and of course, if you just think about the word mindset, it's like whatever your mind is doing, and it's in a fixed spot and it won't move. Okay. So, whatever your mindset is about caregiving, especially for your parent, it's going to change your approach to how you actually do the thing, how you provide the service, how you provide the care for your mom or your dad. I want to say this specifically because I've noticed in my conversation with a lot of caregivers that there's this concept that you have to do it all. Not just people who are caregiving now, but even people who I've talked to who have ended their caregiving journey just like I have. They were in that space where they felt like, I got to do everything for my mom. I got to do everything for my dad. Like, I can't get anybody to help. Now, there's a different group of people who feel like there is no one available to help. And I'm not addressing that group right now. I'm addressing the group of people who feel like there's no one who can help. Now, this is important because as a caregiver, if your mentality is, I got to do it all myself because my mom and my dad sacrificed everything. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my mom. I wouldn't be here who I am today if it wasn't for my dad. Yes, all of that's true. But the idea that you have to be the only person to do all of the care doesn't make sense because think about it. When you were a kid and after you were born, did you spend every single day, every single hour of the day with your parent? Maybe in the beginning. I know, like, when I first had my son, I nursed him and I nursed him for a year, actually. But even though he was nursing and relied on me for his food source for probably the first 4 to 6 months, he still didn't only stay with me. There were times where I would take him to my mom's house and I would let him stay there with my parents. There are times where I would have to go to a doctor appointment and he might stay home with his dad or whatever the case may be. But the point is, I didn't do everything. So the idea that you have to do everything for your parent is leading you down a path where you're going to fail because you can't do it all. It's impossible. How is it possible for one person to do everything 24 hours a day and still have your own mental capacity to do for yourself what needs to be done? It's not possible, right? Like, how could you do that? Side note, I'm looking a lot like my mama right now. I'm looking on here like, look at yourself, girl. You look like Dottie right now. Dottie, when I was a little girl, like, I feel like I look like the pictures I've seen of her, or what I remember from my own mind of looking at her. Okay, that's neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, even in her care for me, like, I went to daycare. I had a daycare provider who was up the street and down the street. The lady who was up the street, I loved her so much. I called her Ma Williams. Her name was Joyce Williams. And Ma Williams took care of me when she was she had a daycare center in her home. So when my mother would get ready to go for work, she would walk me 2, 3 houses up the street to Ma Williams' house, and I would stay there during the day. And mommy would go to work. That was after about, I guess, 6 to 8 weeks after she went back to work. And then when I was sick and I couldn't go to the daycare where all the other kids were, my mother would get ready for work still and take me down the street 3 houses to my godmother. My godmother lived down the street and she would take care of me because she had no one else, no other kids there. She would just take care of me, and whether I was sick or not. Even when I was sick, I could go to her because there was no one else in the house that was like another kid who was in danger of getting sick with me being there. So my mother still took me to someone to care for me. So if she was taking me to somebody to care for me when I was a baby, why would I feel bad about getting someone to help me take care of her when she needs care at this point? You know, the saying, once a man, twice a child. Exactly. Once a man, twice a child. So as a grown up, taking care of my mom, when I first had that idea, like I got to do it all myself, I was wearing myself out because I couldn't do it myself. It wasn't until I finally had a heart to heart conversation with a friend and I was like so exhausted. And they were just like, get somebody to help you. Like, ask people and don't feel bad about it. And I didn't. And I started asking people for help. Fast forward to, actually rewind a bit because when I was with my dad, same thing. I shared this concept before. I couldn't always be where he was because we were all in 3 different places. I lived at home. My parents lived at their house. My dad, when he fell and hurt himself, he was in a facility. So if he was in that facility and my mom is at her house and I'm at my house and my son is with me, we're in 3 different places. How could I do everything? It's not possible. So if I can't do everything myself, then why would I make myself feel bad about trying to do everything myself when it's just not possible? So if you are in that situation and you are beating yourself up because you feel like it's wrong to ask people for help, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're going to lead yourself to fail. In caregiving, if you try to do it all, you're going to be the one who ends up on the short end of the stick. I heard a statistic recently. There was a lady, because I was a member of a caregiver group and we joined Zoom calls. And this lady on the call said that she's in her 70s and her mom is still alive and she's taking care of her mom. And she said on that call that women in their 70s or older, well, I guess I don't know how that works, but women in their 70s who are caregivers for their parent are 72% likely to pass away before the parent does because of the stress that they put on themselves, feeling like they have to do it all. Maybe their siblings aren't nearby or they, you know, don't want to ask for help. Like, God forbid that be the reason. Open your mouth and say, look, I don't know what you're prepared to give or what you feel like this responsibility entails, but I don't have it. Like, people look at you and they see you doing good. They see you like making it happen. And they feel like as a result of that, you don't need their help. So if they feel like that you don't need their help, they won't come around. They won't ask for it. They will show up or be right there and still not do anything because you look like you got it, or you look like you don't want to be involved. You don't want them involved, or whatever the case may be. All of that's a bad way to go. It's not going to help you at all. My second point, I said I had 2 points, and this one is a little bit harder to swallow, if you will. It might be a little harder to hear. So I'm telling you, I'm giving my disclaimer now. Setting yourself up to fail as a caregiver is also looks like going into it with the mindset that your goal is to have your parent continue to live like forever. I don't know what it is about us as kids, even adult kids. We know that death is inevitable. We're not going to be here forever. Our parents aren't going to be here forever. But for whatever reason, when I was first caregiving for my dad, before I started being my dad's caregiver, we had this running joke. And I used to say, okay, you got to promise me you're going to be here at least 20 more years. And I think I started saying that to him around age 75. I think we gave him a surprise birthday party for his 75th birthday. I believe that was a year. And when we gave him his 75th birthday party, surprised him. I said, Daddy, you got to promise me you're going to be here for 20 more years. He was like, I got you. I got you. And every time he had a birthday, I would still say, you got 20 more years for me, right? I would never allow the years to count down. For whatever reason, I felt like my dad was supposed to be here forever. And I knew that wasn't true, but I was trying to get him to commit to something that he knew he couldn't do. And he just kept saying, yeah, I got you. 20 more years, I got you. And eventually, it was what he was then 80 at some, he became when he was 80 years old. I'm still saying, you got me 20 more years? We 20 more years in? And Daddy would say that, I got you. I was setting myself up to fail because as a caregiver, is it realistic to expect the person you're caring for to not ever pass away? Like, are we not thinking about what's real? What actually happens in this thing we call life? Like, we're not going to live forever. And our parents definitely are not. And I'm not trying to make you feel sad or make you think about life after that. But what happens is if you approach caregiving for your parent with the mentality that you're going to help your parent keep living and like it's never going to come to an end, then you set yourself up to fail because there's no way to get out of it without feeling like you lost. The passing of your parent becomes a loss for you. Not just a loss like, yes, we say, oh, I had a death in the family. My mom, I lost my mom or I lost my dad. Not that, but you feel like you didn't do your job well enough because that happened. So you're setting yourself up to fail because if your mindset is, my job is to keep them alive, and you don't acknowledge the fact that they have to pass away, then you're going to feel like you failed at your job. So think about like how a doctor or a nurse, they deal with seeing people pass away regularly, and they have to keep doing their work. They have to do the best they can. They have to adopt the mentality like, I gave the best possible care as long as I possibly could. And that's my success. Your success is doing the best you can for as long as you possibly can. It's not success because your parent never passed away. Like, that's the mentality that changed my thinking. Like when I finally released my dad from saying, you got to be here 20 more years. I need you to live for 20 more years, Daddy. When I finally released that and I realized, oh, he's not in a condition where 20 more years even looks good for him. I didn't want my dad to be around in his condition for 20 more years because he deserved better. He deserved a life where he was free and vibrant because he was that dude. He was a man's man. He was the guy who all the men of the church looked up to. He was the guy who, like his friends thought he was an honorable man. So to see him in a situation where he's in the bed and unable to move or even scoot himself up in the bed like this, like he couldn't even do that. Knowing that that was an issue for him made me say, nah, not 20 more years, not like this. And it was my desire to allow him to be free, to not be bound by the body that was keeping him bedridden and unable to do the things that he wanted to do for his wife and for me. Like, he still wanted to take care of me. I know for a fact that he probably was not, I can't say no for a fact and then say probably. I know for a fact that my dad's wishes were to always make sure that I was good. And he made sacrifices all throughout his life, in his career, in his businesses. He did things that didn't necessarily look good for him. Like, he knew he wasn't going to reap the benefits of what he was doing for me, but he did them anyway because he knew that it would benefit me even when he wasn't around to still see it. And he was okay with that. And that is what made me have to say, I'm going to have to be okay with knowing that he's not going to be here, and I'm still going to be okay because he's raised me to be okay with his absence. So, what I came to conclude was, even in his passing, I believe that my father decided in that moment on his hospital bed. We had a hospital bed at the house. And I'm convinced that when daddy realized how much it was wearing me out, even though I wasn't complaining, but I was going back and forth. He knew I didn't live in his house, but he knew he saw me all the time during the day, 2 and 3 times a day. I was over there taking care of him, leaving my house, driving over there to take care of him. And he knew that. And when it came time for him to, like, when the opportunity came for him to fight for living here still, or to leave here peacefully with the comfort of knowing that his baby girl was going to be good, I believe he made that decision to leave here peacefully because he knew that he had prepared me to be good without his presence anymore. And while it wasn't something I was looking forward to, being there in those very moments, those last moments, actually, I was holding him, physically holding my dad when he passed away, physically, like, I was lying on his chest trying to hear if he was still breathing or not. I heard that sound that comes out of people's bodies when they're passing away. And it gave me peace to know that he had made a decision, and that even in his decision to pass away, I felt like he was still caring about me. And that was a beautiful moment. It was hard, but it was beautiful. And I wouldn't have been able to be that at peace with it if, as a caregiver, I hadn't come to the realization that you're expecting the ridiculous. Your dad's not going to be here forever. Your goal isn't to keep him alive forever. It's to make him as comfortable as he possibly can be while he's here. And when it had gotten to the point where he was no longer comfortable, I wanted him to be comfortable wherever he had to be comfortable. And if that meant in the next life, then that's what it meant. So, I'm gonna leave with you a quote. I was watching that Will Smith documentary on one of the apps, Disney, and it's called Pole to Pole. And he has, I think it's episode 4 or 5, where he goes to the Himalayas to find happiness. And there's a lady in that documentary who says, he goes to the mountains, he goes to the Himalayas searching for happiness because it's supposed to be the happiest community on the planet in this place. And it's freezing cold and they have a hard life. He's like, how are they so happy? But this lady up there, and she said, our lives are like the mountain snow. They can melt away at any moment. And it is that mentality as a caregiver that made me give it my all every single time, but also knowing that my all didn't mean just me. My all meant every resource I had available to me to bring into the fold so that my dad and my mom were as comfortable as they could possibly be until they were no longer here with me. So I encourage you, if you are caring for your mom, if you are caring for your dad, and you need a perspective shift, I encourage you to want the best life for them and do your very best, and know that the goal isn't to give them the best forever, but the best until they can rest. Yeah. So I hope this helps. I hope this speaks to your heart. I hope that you hear my heart and that you know that I'm not encouraging you to give up, but encouraging you to do your best and use everything you have at your resources, every resource you have to give your best. And that means creatively thinking of ways to do the caregiving with other people involved, not just you, because your mom and your dad deserve a healthy daughter because that's what they want to. All right. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching the replay. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the care that you're giving to your parent. If nobody else tells you today, thank you. You're doing a great job, and I love you.